Aerannis is a mission-based stealth action game set in a world of conspiracy and full of action and assassinations. Welcome to episode 18 of the 5 T's of Stealth, where we will be discussing Aerannis, or Aerannis, not sure on the pronunciation. Once again, the 5 T's include tasks, terrain, tools, threats, and tension. These are what I consider to be the fundamentals of stealth gaming. Aerannis is a bit of a weird one. It's got a lot going on, but ultimately feels like it doesn't really explain much. This game seems to have a transgender focus and will regularly show us that all men are gone and use the term snowflake. It seems all men have been forced to transition in this universe, but I can't say for sure. On the other end of things, the game focuses on shapeshifters or potential gods? Again, I'm really not quite sure. All I can say for certain is that your main antagonist is not human, and they talk about how they've been pulling humanity's strings from the shadows for a long time. These entities have infiltrated several locations throughout the game and are government officials or other important people. Each time you eliminate the human form of these entities, you will then have to fight its otherworldly form. You eventually learn that these beings slowly lose their powers over time, and their leader actually set up all the rest to be killed by you, and in doing so, you indirectly helped her regain her powers. On the final boss fight, you eliminate the leader by using a trick up your sleeve. You had kept one of the beings inside you to use against her or something weird like that. Again, lots of stuff going on in this game, but it really just feels all over the place and never really explained. In terms of mission design, there are two main mission types. Some are more focused on stealth, and others are all in on the action. In stealth missions, being caught means you lose, while in the other missions, it's basically guns blazing the whole time. Part of me didn't know whether or not to consider this a stealth game, but I think there's enough here that it is one, and the developer considers it one, so I went with it. Missions will typically involve going to eliminate a certain person of interest, or retrieving an item or information on weapons or power suits or anything else. Each mission is assigned to you by your contact, Elsa, who at one point is kidnapped, and you destroy an entire organization to get her back. There are several different locations in Aerannis, including what I believe is referred to as the Realm of the Gods, which is very much a cosmic space themed area. There are a few different cities with different routes and traversal options. While the exterior of these worlds was pretty unique, I think when it comes to the interior, everything felt pretty much the same. I definitely got bored of the interior map designs pretty quickly, and it never felt like it evolved past where it started. In Aerannis, you play as an assassin for hire named Seda Fari. I'm sure that's not how you say that, but regardless. She's got a decent handful of options at her disposal. For starters, you have a semi-automatic gun that can also be charged for more damage. You have a pop bomb, which will attract enemies. Then you will unlock wall bombs and the bomberang. I think the name for each of these is pretty self-explanatory, but just in case. The wall bomb can be placed on the floor or walls and doesn't explode until something makes contact with it, while the bomberang is a literal exploding boomerang. The pop bomb, wall bomb, and bomberang all use the same bar and have to recharge between uses. You can also only have one equipped at a time. Another option available is to sneak behind any humanoid enemy and punch them. Doing so will make them your hostage and give you a one-shot kill opportunity, while also preventing any enemies from shooting at you. This can also be used on civilians who may have security clearance to a door you need to access. General movement can be solid enough, with a jump that can be held for more height and the ability to slide when crouched. Later on, you'll learn to wall jump and hang on ledges, both of which feel really clunky in my opinion. I became very frustrated from these weirdly not activating all the time and generally just feeling awkward. Your character has a health bar, and there are damage numbers shown whenever you or an enemy takes damage. There are elevators to use, lights to turn off, and certain locations that can be used as hiding places with a specific symbol above them. There's even a cardboard box you can use to sneak around. Lastly, something I didn't learn until much, much later, there's a shop in the menu that can be used to buy heals at any time. I can't tell you how long I was wondering what the in-game currency was used for, and oh my god, how much it would have helped me if I had known and prevented countless deaths and restarts. Throughout Aerannis, there is a wide variety of robots and these otherworldly beings. I'm not going to name them all, but some will shoot at you while others bum rush you. There's also a wide variety of humanoid enemies that have different weaponry, But as I mentioned earlier, all you have to do is sneak up behind them and take them hostage for the one shot, so I'm really not going to name them all. One unique humanoid option was a samurai who could block damage and would sprint at you. There are flies in this game that were very annoying. They would just always be at an awkward angle and mess up your platforming. Some enemies seem to know where you are no matter what, while others have a pretty poor detection ability, especially if you aren't on the same level. Simply jump onto something and chances are you've disappeared. Some levels will have cameras, and once they detect you, they will lock the door they are associated with, but it's temporary. On top of all this, there's a pretty big range of boss fights, but sadly none of them are stealthy. It's all action oriented. As I mentioned, there's the weird gods or whatever that you have to fight, but there's also like a giant crab that requires a lot of wall jumping to avoid, which feels horrible. And on the flip side, probably my favorite, a helicopter chase scene. Lastly, the platforming itself in this game could be rather difficult, especially when it didn't want to work properly. This is another weird one when it comes to tension, because I found the stealth of Aerannis to be rather simple and bare bones. It didn't take me long to figure out each mission. On the other hand, when it came to the action and platforming side of things, the game felt genuinely bad and became difficult with how clunky everything felt. Wall jumps would barely work and I'd fall constantly, and when it came to ledge hanging, it seems to only work when I didn't want it to. As I mentioned, I didn't feel like this was really a stealth game, but the developers described it as such, so I kept going, desperate to find something new and interesting in the genre. That never happened. Instead, I would rarely get an actual stealth mission and found myself just blasting away. Let me be clear. I actually like this divide of stealth and action missions. In fact, I wouldn't mind seeing it in some other games. However, this was more of an action game with some stealth elements and missions. And the action didn't even feel good. I can't tell you how many times I couldn't shoot an enemy because they were at an awkward angle and you can only shoot in a straight line, so you have to spam jump to get the right angle. I am very much complaining right now, and I think that pretty clearly shows how I feel about this game. The stealth was mediocre at best, and that's if it was even present. The action-oriented missions would have too many enemies that ignored the stealth mechanics, so you couldn't even try to stay sneaky. The story is just super weird, with a lot of half-baked, unexplained elements. And quite frankly, I can't believe I stuck with this game. Good for me, actually completing this game, but there was no sense of satisfaction, only a relief that it was done. At this point, I probably don't need to say it, but I did not enjoy my time with Aerannis and was continuously frustrated by half-baked systems and mechanics that barely worked, which of course means that I absolutely do not recommend Aerannis.